Hello Nasdaq followers and welcome to another episode of Nasdaq Spotlight. My name is Lena Alfaro. I'm a producer and host here at the market site. We're coming to you live from Innovative46, which is the Swedish Chamber of Commerce Summit, bringing together Swedish entrepreneurs and this year focusing on impact. Joining me to talk a little bit more about it is Anna Thron-Holst, who's president of SAC NY, and our very own Niklas Holmberg, who is managing director of Listings Sweden. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lena.
So let's elaborate a little bit more on this year's theme of impact. Anna, could you tell us a little bit about the companies that are present here today?
Well, we themed it leveraging impact and the idea that you can do good and create growth and profitability. I think there's a little bit of a disconnect on that, in that you do good, you're altruistic, you're trying to save the world, you're trying to stop global warming, all of that, climate change, but not necessarily being able to mind a bottom line or create growth, create jobs, etc. And we want to make sure that that discourse changes, that there is absolutely growth, profitability, jobs to be created while you're doing good and making sure that we're tackling in a very positive and effective way the very big challenges that we're facing today.
So certainly showing that growth and doing well by the planet, really, which we're about to talk in a second, are not mutually exclusive.
Not at all. Quite the contrary.
Absolutely. So Niklas, in terms of Listing Sweden and the companies and the environment that you're seeing out there, how is this kind of theme reflected in Sweden itself?
Yes, we are very proud because we are the leading exchange for growth companies within the clean tech sector. So what we have built up is a Nordic ecosystem, everything from investors to advisors, legal and financial, that are ready to support these companies. But that also goes back to the long history of Swedish citizens that would like to invest in good areas like ESG-friendly sectors.
Now, let's talk a bit about the companies that are here today. They fit within a category called greennovating companies, if I can use it that way. We'll be talking to a few of them in just a little bit. What is this kind of company, a greennovate company?
I think, again, it was trying to really broaden the definition of clean tech. People think of clean tech as wind power and solar energy and things of that sort, but it's so much broader than that. So if you look at the companies that are represented here today that came with the Swedish Energy Agency, they're companies that are doing everything from improving maritime transportation and creating efficiency there and CO2 reduction there, to companies that are improving how food is being moved around the world and creating efficiencies and lessening emissions there, to companies that are making sure that building envelopes and large buildings that are emitting a lot of waste and jacking up bills and things like that, that there are efficient ways to combat that kind of waste and loss of revenue. And so they span a gamut that is so much broader than I think most people think of the clean tech sector. And that was important to us too, is to help people understand that there's so many ways that each and every one of us can think about really impacting and creating some efficiencies there and in everything that we do.
I think from our side is we have 2 of these 9 companies actually listed on Nasdaq First North, our growth market. And we want to be more than just a platform that creates liquidity for the shares. So actually we try to do things like that when we put this company in front of not just investors, but also open up the area for B2B to be part of the growth journey.
Absolutely. Now, when we think about Sweden in the global landscape and Swedish companies here in the US too, how are they poised to kind of be at the forefront of innovation and clean tech?
Well, Sweden has such a rich history of that to begin with. I mean, Sweden, for almost all of its history, has been, I mean, you think of Nobel and, all of these forefront in innovation and bringing positive invention to the world. And this is really a continuation of that, but tackling more modern day issues and challenges. And I think what you see here is that Sweden started actually really thinking about this and putting teeth into this quite a bit earlier than maybe here in the United States of America. And it's also a public-private partnership in a way that we are not quite seeing in the United States. And so, for instance, the Swedish Energy Agency that's here is it's a government agency that is investing and supporting the development of this technology. And what American investors find in all of this is that generally these companies are already pretty well situated, they're lean, they have a valuation that is very attractive to American investors, and they generally follow a very Swedish business model, which is very ethical, very based on gender equality and principles of that sort, and ethical principles. And so it for the American investor, it's a very attractive sector to look at.
And what we can see that we have been working with the pension funds in Sweden, and now actually we see company get support in terms of raising capital down to 1 million euro. And that's very important because that means that this early stage company would have long-term investors, and it makes it easier for other investors to be part of the journey when they know about that. So a lot of things happening in the right way, and we just had a Swedish Energy Agency. They have 180 companies in their portfolio that show fantastic growth, not just in the average revenues for the firms, but also in terms of market cap. So more and more investable company that will be there for investors. So very positive view in the futures. And we also see a huge interest now from Germany and other countries where they actually can't get so early to the public market. So they want to use Nasdaq as a platform, not just raising capital, but also for the credibility, visibility that come with the listing with us.
And when you talk about the future, what can we expect in the future from this kind of movement that is happening and expanding clearly because there's spread interest? And what companies and sectors should we be keeping an eye out for?
Well, I think if we want to actually start to go there, but I mean, just look at Greta. This young firebrand that has a very clear Swedish stamp, and how that in and of itself translates to looking at the Swedish know-how and the Swedish innovation that's happening around all of this, and where the adults are listening there and responding there. And I think, speaking of the many sectors, I mean, you're seeing a ton of them.
Yeah, but it's not just the numbers, it's also the quality. And we need to have success stories, and we have been lucky to have PowerCell, Climion, that actually show that you can be part of a very good investor growth. So you need have, of course, many companies, but again, the marketplace would not be better if you don't have a good journey for both the company and the investors in them.
So it's certainly a positive trajectory that we're seeing for the future of
Absolutely.
these companies, and definitely to keep an eye on. So couldn't think of a better fit for this year's theme, leveraging impact. And we're really eager to talk to all of these Greenovate companies that are here today. So thank you so much, both of you, for joining us here.
Thank
you so much for letting us be here.
Of course. Nasdaq followers, please stay tuned for more coverage coming to you right here from the Nasdaq market site at the Innovative46 Summit hosted by SAC NY. Until then, we're signing off.